But to get us started with our portraits of Wade, he's going to start with a basic shape, and the shape's going to be an oval here. And so right at the middle of our paper, we want to draw in an oval, I'd say about the size of a dinner roll, or even a potato is a good size for your sheet of paper as well. And as you can see here, I'm slightly building up my oval, lots and lots of curved lines. And actually having this oval kind of tilt at a slight angle here as well. And once you've got the shape in place, the next steps we need to add in are what we call guidelines to help us place some of those features for Wade here. And so we're going to go to the top of our oval, and we're going to lightly sketch down this diagonal line, cutting our oval right in half, right down the middle here. Then about a third of the way from the top of our oval, we want to lightly sketch across a horizontal guideline here. And this line is going to help us with placing in Wade's eyes. And this will give us our basic foundation for Wade. But before we start to add in some of his facial features, we do want to add in a little bit of his neck and shoulders here too. And so I'm going to go ahead and go to the bottom of my oval, and to build up his neck and shoulders, I'm just going to lightly stretch down this really stretched out what we call S-curve. And I'll even go back around a couple times, really build this up very nice and soft here. And once you got that first half in place, I'm going to mirror that on the right hand side here too. Stretching down another hill, kind of curving this off to the right. I want to go ahead and still keep these curves very light, very sketchy. I especially do want to dress up Wade next. And he wears their classic little baseball tee. I like to call it the Troy Bolton shirt in this home. And so to add in that collar to his little baseball tee there, I'm going to go right to the middle of his neck. And I'm going to stretch across just a little letter, really big letter U here. And from that first letter U, we'll add in one more letter U right below it. And since his sleeves are a darker tone to the rest of the shirt in the middle, we want to go from the sides of the shoulders here, I'll even darken this in, and we'll just follow that same curve down here on each side. Speaking of Troy Bolton, this film very much kind of gives me High School Musical vibes, especially with Amber's mom kind of saying elements don't mix, which is pretty much what you see in High School Musical. Their characters are meant to stick to what they know and stick to the status quo. And what's pretty awesome about this film in particular is that it's actually Pixar's first rom-com film that they produced. And the last rom-com that Disney actually released was Tangled, about 13 years ago. So really a while. I'm kind of excited to see how they make this film really cute and funny. Now, the Elemental was directed by a gentleman named Peter Stone, and he's responsible for directing The Good Dinosaur, as well as the Pixar short Partly Cloudy as well. But what I just learned about Peter is that he also did voice work in other Pixar films as well. He voices Squishy from Monsters University, Socks the Cat in the recent Buzz Lightyear film, and Peter was also the inspiration for Russell from Up. Yeah, actually drew inspiration from his childhood photos. What I've done with the baseball tee is actually shaded in the corners here, the sleeves, making that the darkest part. And I'll even take the side of my pencil and slightly shade in the middle here too. And now that we've got the bottom half of Wade in place, now it's time for us to really bring him to life, really shape out his head here. Now, since he is made of water, he's very much wobbly when it comes to the shape of his head. And so I'm actually going to go right above my horizontal guideline, and I'm going to carve into my shape here, just adding a little letter C curve. And from that letter C, just right below my guideline, I'll extend out his left cheek, just bringing out a curve from that original oval. And we'll go ahead and blend this into his neck here on the left-hand side. When it comes to building up the top of his head, his hair is in this, what I like to think of as a really big pompadour kind of hairstyle. And so I'm going to go from the top of this curve, and I'm going to start this next one nice and light. But I'm going to build up this very big oval right up here at the top. And we'll go back in just a moment, really texture this up, really make this look like water here. But from that oval, I'll even build up the rest of his head here on the right-hand side, just bringing a little hill up. And I'll darken in the right side of his head here. We're not going to be changing this at all. Now, I'm really fascinated with Pixar. I leave it up to them to make elements, characters. Now, Wade in particular was one of the most difficult characters to animate in this film in particular, just because water does have a reflection and refraction to it. And so there were artistic abilities with this film. They didn't really keep everything true to biology. So now that we've got the sides of his head nice and dark, to really build up his little pompadour hairstyle, we're going to go into this oval that we kept nice and light now. And I'll go ahead and add in just a couple of these small little raindrop shapes here. And since he is water, there is no right or wrong way to how to sketch this in. Really feel free to add in as much of these little waves here too. Now, since this film is a rom-com, Peter Stone actually drew inspiration from a couple of rom-com films that you may all be familiar with. The three that I know that were inspirations for this film were actually The Big Sick, as well as My Big Fat Greek Wedding, and We Got Mail. Now that we got the pompadour in place, if you do want to add in some extra credit, a couple of little water droplets, I like to add in just a couple kind of floating right above his hair here. Now that we pretty much have what we call his silhouette in place, when it comes to building up Wade's face next, we're going to give him his nose first by going right on our horizontal diagonal guideline. And we're going to stretch up just a little rainbow, extend this right above our guideline here. And right below his nose, we want to give him this, I like to think of it as a really big awkward smile, almost like a first day of school smile. And so I'm going to go right below his nose here, and it's very likely sketch in a very wide rainbow at first. And from that rainbow, I'm going to curve off the edges of the smile, adding in a letter U here on each side. I also like to think of this as a boo-boo smile there too. And you can keep your smile just like this. But if you want to make Wade even happier, I like to give him that first day of school smile. Really nice big open mouth smile here by stretching down two little C curves here on the sides. Then from right between those two letter C's, I'll build up the bottom half of the smile, just adding in a little wave here. Now Wade's voice in this film is actually done by a man named Mamadou Afi. He's still a pretty new actor in the game. His most recent role was in the Jurassic World Dominion film. His counterpart, Ember, is voiced by Leah Lewis. She is known for being in the recent Netflix film, as well as the Nancy Drew series. Now, I'm really excited because Wade's mom in this film is actually voiced by Catherine O'Hara. So I'm very excited to see how her character is, how she really plays his mom there. Now, I've even gone back to showcase his teeth, just adding a couple little curves here on the sides. But now that we've got the smile face, now's the time for us to really bring Wade to life. And so when it comes to making his eyes here, we'll go right above our guideline. And we'll add just a couple of light circles, one for each eye. And then once you got these to the way that you like it, from the tops of those circles, I like to give Wade what we call a lash line, just by digging at the top of the circles a little bit more here. He's going to look really spooky here, and so when it comes to adding in those pupils, you can really have him any way looking any way you like. For me though, I'm looking out to the right, so he's like thinking, maybe he's thinking about Ember. Can't wait to see how these two fall in love in the film there. Now, the story of Elemental was actually inspired by Peter Stone's own childhood. He actually said that he based this story on his own family's experience with immigrating to the U.S. from Korea. And now that I got Wade nice and awake, the last detail I need to add in for his face are some eyebrows. And so we'll go right above his left eye here. And we're going to have this eyebrow arching up, just adding a little candy cane. Then for the right eyebrow here, we'll make this a little bit more of an awkward kind of expression. Adding in more of the diagonal line. And once you got those eyebrows in place, that's going to be the last step that you need for your sketches of Wade. And so this is the time in your drawings when you want to go back in, do some touch-up work. And if you do want to add in some shading here, I like to take the side of my pencil, kind of use it as a crayon, just lightly shade in some of those little water spots there, just an added contrast. But once you've got all that in place, really the last mark any artist truly needs to leave on the work before it's complete though, are going to be your signatures. So make sure you do find a spot somewhere next to your drawing here. And go ahead and sign big and proud, because you have just learned how to draw your very own portrait of Wade.